And ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another episode of the Rider Review brought to you by 13K Productions. Thank you guys for tuning in after a tough, I believe it was, let's see here, 41-12 loss, which hurts a lot to say out loud still. Um, it's currently Wednesday, so just off the top of the show, where I wanted to comment on the Antonio Pipkin and Kari Vedvik trade. Tyson, what are your thoughts on that whole trade there?
I feel good about it. Vedvik was a good punter at one time, but his performance has certainly dwindled, and he, if my memory serves, hasn't seen the field all year. So that's great. We can get a utility quarterback in there, some insurance for a punter, a global punter at that was never going to see the field again due to the emergence of Adam Korzak. So I think it's a great trade. I mean, I'm not JO's biggest supporter, but I think it was a fantastic trade, a shrewd one. What do you think?
Personally, I thought it was a really nice trade. You're shipping out a punter that, he wasn't bad by any means. He was a great punter for us here, and a fan favorite from the
Mm-hmm.
I guess in stadium
Mm-hmm.
interviews and whatnot, right?
Yeah,
And he's a good punter too. And you're giving him a chance somewhere else in Hamilton, and we're bringing in a quarterback that can come in and, depending on how fast he learns the playbook, he can come in and genuinely compete for that second spot under Trevor Harris.
yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
it's a great game. Great game. Great gain for the Riders.
Yeah, it was good.
So I guess let's get right into the game here. You know, overall thoughts on the game, just off the top of your head. What are your overall thoughts?
Um, like I said to you off air, Kate, and I haven't had a chance to rewatch it, and honestly, I'm probably not going to rewatch an embarrassing blowout, and those are my two words to sum it up: an embarrassing blowout. We were never in the game. We were never remotely in the game. I turned it off with 2 minutes left because I was so frustrated and disappointed, and I honestly don't remember the last time I turned the game off. It's been years. I don't remember the last time I did. So that just speaks to how bad that effort was. And I hope everyone to a man is embarrassed, including the coaching staff.
Um, yeah, I agree with you here. No, not a lot of effort on either side of the ball, really. Especially the defensive side of the ball, and that's saying a lot. Um, when you look at the Alouettes roster on Friday night, they
Yeah,
had no Cody Fajardo and no William Stanback.
for
And the
sure.
fact that they still got whooped
Yeah.
41-12, that's like what do you do when Caleb Evans and Walter Fletcher are tearing your defense apart?
Yeah, it's inexcusable. With all due respect to Caleb Evans, he's obviously a serviceable quarterback to some degree, right? He's hung around now for 3 years in the league or what have you. With all due respect to him, you just got smoked by a third string quarterback. I don't know. Like it's embarrassing. There's nowhere to go but up from here. So trying to stay positive, right?
Yeah. And I guess you can say, Fletcher and Evans really that was their ground game pretty much. You
Yeah,
you
it
got beat
was.
by a team that was running,
Yeah,
running the ball constantly, and they didn't key into that. And I guess, speaking of the run game, I mean, our running game was decent. That was a bright spot. Just your
yeah,
thoughts on
yeah,
JMO's
yeah.
performance.
Um, I hesitate to call it a bright spot, buddy. It was a less dim spot, perhaps, maybe an apt description. Like he had 81 yards, something like that, but it took him 18 carries to do it. And I didn't work out the average, but the average is not great. Like whatever it is, 4.5. It's still not great, even if he did touch 5 yards per carry. It took him all night to do that. So I don't. I'm not going to celebrate that too much, till.
So we mentioned off the top of the show we got Antonio Pipkin, and there was a reason for that. Unfortunately, Mason Fine goes down with, I think it was a hamstring or what was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah.
what it was.
Hamstring.
And you could, I after watching the replay, you see his face. 2 to 3 weeks, is when they're saying he could be back. What are these next 2-3 weeks going to look like for the Riders?
Well, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but I would have to assume that the boys have to know that their backs are up against the wall right now. Calgary plays Edmonton twice in their Labor Day game and the rematch, so in theory, those are 2 wins for Calgary, right? In theory, I said, in theory. So, yeah, we can't lose. Calgary's apt to pick up 2 wins here. So I have to think the fellas know that they're up against it. And I do expect, I'm not predicting a win by any means, but I do expect more of a fiery effort this Sunday in BC.
And speaking of Edmonton, Quee is out. And they're looking at a new president next 2 to 3 weeks. Thoughts on Edmonton's look for like a new president? Thoughts on why they let him go?
Yeah. Remember, I don't even remember what game it was there. I hung around the stadium late, and I had a little video recording of a discussion between Victor Quee and Chris Jones, and I remarked that it appeared to be somewhat of a heated discussion, and perhaps I was right, a month and a half ago or whatever that was. I feel bad for the organization. There's some stuff coming out about Victor Quee, but we can't believe everything we hear, and especially from a disgruntled employee, right? You just can't. A disgruntled employee is not going to have great things to say, no matter how he was let go. So we got to take that with a grain of salt, but I'm disappointed that they let him go. He was doing so much for that franchise. He was involving the fans. He was promoting like heck. He had giveaways and contests and the free tickets to the game. Like, he was doing everything right from an outsider's perspective. And it's really kind of sad and disappointing to see him let go when, in fact, he may not turn out to be the problem in Edmonton.
Honestly, that it's sad to see. I think honestly, you could have put Quee up there with upper echelon of owners like the ones in BC and Montreal, right? That's what people were saying around the league. Seems like like you said, he seems like a great guy and great person to be around. But
sure did.
Changes have to be made when you're 0-9, right? So
and they can let their president go without financial restitution, I believe, right? That has nothing to do with the operations cap. So if you let Chris Jones go, you're obviously dealing with that operations cap and hampering your team going forward to some degree. As far as I know, you can let your president go 10 times and it ain't going to affect you one bit financially. So I would think that has some kind of bearing on the decision that was made there, hey?
Yeah, and speaking of presidents getting fired, there's a lot of, there's a lot of people calling for Reynolds' head here in Saskatchewan. After they go 4-5 now, I think they are.
Yeah.
Just what are your thoughts? What do you think the Riders should be doing with the guys up top?
What I think should happen, and I'm not saying it should happen right now, but I think a house cleaning from top to bottom has to happen in the off season. That's just my personal opinion. You can disagree with me, agree with me. It really wouldn't matter to me. This is just my opinion, simple as it may be. I think we need a house cleaning from top to bottom. We haven't been in the Grey Cup in 10 years. This is a 9-team league. People, I hope, aren't losing sight of that without being too negative here. But I think it has to happen. Do I think it'll happen? No, absolutely not. I think what'll happen is Craig Reynolds will stay. J.O. will stay. and Craig Dickinson will fall on the sword here in the offseason. That's what I think will happen. I'm not saying that's what I want to happen, but you know.
No, unless the Riders somehow, you know, wave a magic wand and win their last 9 games, which, you know, who knows?
Right.
It's the CFL; anything can happen. But
Yeah,
I'm in complete agreement with you. Everybody,
yeah.
I think everybody has to go. Honestly, that's
I, I I think so. We need somewhat of a rebranding, retooling, refurbishing, re-something, because the stands aren't as full as they should be. I would have to assume merch sales are not what they should be. And this is a football mad province. This is a football mad nation. Rider Nation spans the oceans. Like there's worldwide, nobody has the following in Canada that we do. And it's just a darn shame to see where we're at now at 4-5, coming off a 6-12 season in which we failed to make the playoffs when we're hosting a championship game. Like somebody has to answer to that. And I just feel personally that we need to clean house.
yeah. And then I guess let's circle back to the game here. Dolagala struggled really when he came into the game to connect with his receivers. I'm noticing, all around Rider fans are saying that, he's a quarterback who's going to focus on one receiver and one receiver only. He's going to throw the deep ball. I think it was really there was a few passes that those receivers could have caught. Like I noticed one where Emelis jumped up and the ball hit him right in the chest and fell down. But your thoughts on Dolagala's performance?
He was terrible last game, as was Mason Fine, as would have been Shea Patterson, as would have been our new guy, Antonio Pipkin. It didn't matter who we threw in there. Our game plan, our offensive game planning is horrendous. I'm fully confident in saying that now. I personally have give Kelly Jeffrey a lot of leash, and I've made up my mind now. Back to Jake. He did not have a strong game, but you know what? Accuracy from what we've seen from him is not his strong suit. So more time with the boys, more time with the ones. You're getting way, way, way more reps than you are as a number 2 or 3, obviously. So I'm confident he's going to come out and have a much, much better game. I truly am. Whether that means he stays on as our number 2, 3, 1, I have no idea. Let's just focus on this next game and get this dub because we need it bad. And I fully expect Jake to come out firing. I'm excited to see him go, actually.
And I guess speaking of this next game, Stearns, I think his stats, so far in these last 2 games, he's 11 for 13 for 112 yards. And on Friday, he only touched the ball 4 times on 6 targets, and he's getting 10 yards a gain. Jareth Stearns looks like he is going to be a monster, and I think he should. They got to give him more reps. Honestly, I think in the 2 games, I get it's only 2 games, but I think you got to start game planning with this guy.
Yeah, I do too. He's shown everything. He's done everything asked of him, hasn't he? He hasn't missed a beat, and he's coming in here as a raw rookie too. I don't think he's had a look in the NFL even. I think he's coming here right out of college, if I remember correctly. So super happy with him. The team seems happy with him. The experts are talking about him a bit. So he's catching virtually everything that's thrown to him, which we can't ask for more than that. So looking forward to it. And he's going to get a little more space out there because our boy, like you mentioned, is possibly coming back here next game. So that's going to create a lot of space for Stearns and Tevin Jones and Bain. And I think that just KSB's presence out there is going to benefit those other receivers. I really do.
So I guess, not to jinx or anything, it's the last thing I want to do is not have Keen Schaefer Baker back on the field.
Yeah, dude, we don't need any more bad luck here.
um, just I think that would mean a lot to the team having him back on the field, like you said,
Yeah.
off air here. We we need anything we can get really at this point in the season, and if we have a threat like that back on the field, that's going to do numbers for our offensive power.
Yeah.
I think we like we've mentioned previously, we have one of the deepest receiver rooms, and it's just with Schaefer Baker back there, it only gets deeper, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? What do you think we need to do to come back home and beat the BC Lions on Sunday?
Well, your assignment, those people that travel to the games, please fill up that stadium. I would be there, but I'm at work. So everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, get in that stadium, make some noise, disrupt VA. He gets panicked. Just get in there, make some noise, make him feel uncomfortable. And I think as far as offense and Mr. Kelly Jeffrey, let's stretch the field a bit. We know Jake has the arm. Say what you want about Mason. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he doesn't have half the arm that Jake Dolegala does. And we can question Jake's accuracy, I suppose. But in order for the defense to respect these god-awful 3-yard passes we're throwing and handoffs inside, we got to stretch the field for the defense to respect us. So I'm looking for us to do that. And we can't expect immediate success, right? It might take a while. It might take 2-3 quarters. Who knows? But I think that has to be our primary function is to stretch the field and start chucking it deep.
That's we have to, but we obviously have to set that up with the running game too, right? We have to get JMO involved. We've seen what he can do at previous times this season, right? So as long as he can set up a ground game, that'll set up the long ball, right? We have to, like you said, have to be able to throw deep, and to throw deep, we have to have a good run game. And Kelly Jeffrey, as much as we don't like seeing, his game plan go to fruition, right? He should be, run based because he was the running backs coach, right? So
yeah, he was.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Not too much. I guess I'd like to see Frankie Hickson back in there. Jamal Morrow, we all respect him. He's a decent back, but he's not having a terrific season. We have Frankie Hickson sitting on the practice roster, and that's really unfortunate because there's some teams in the CFL that would die to have him. And now, keep in mind, folks, the teams can steal off the other team's practice rosters. It's kind of an unspoken rule. You don't do that, but it can be done, which is why people are hesitant to put guys on their practice roster, as opposed to the 6-game or the 1-game, what have you. But I'd like to see Frankie Hickson back in there, maybe with KSB possibly coming back. There's a Canadian spot there, so maybe we can slip another American in there, and I'd like that to be Frankie Hickson. I think the world of him. I think there's potential there just as much as there is with Jamal Morrow, and that dude's going to be hungry if he gets his chance again. So, and he's just a dynamite dude too, and teammate. So I'd like to see him in there at some point. I've been thinking about that lately.
Yeah, and speaking of young guys getting their chances again, right? Like I think it's Hickson's second year in the league, right?
Yeah.
And the guy it's Thomas Bertrand-Dudon's first year in the league, and he is already looking phenomenal. So I think we got to give him more of an opportunity too. Yeah. Honestly, we have to give these young guys their chance because teams don't know what to expect with them, right? You've only had 1 year of Frankie Hickson, and you've had 0 years of Bertrand-Dudon.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Use them. Sure. Use these guys. They're black aces, right?
Yeah, it very well could be. It very well could be. And there was talk coming out of camp that Frankie Hickson might supplant Jamal Morrow as our starting running back. So that doesn't come out of thin air. right? That means they saw something. And for him to kind of languish on the practice roster, not only do I feel bad for the team, because I love this franchise, as you guys know, but I feel bad for Frankie Hickson too. He deserves a shot. But I was just kind of perusing the injury reports here just before we got on here. It seems like Anthony Lanier has missed another practice today. Albert Wachi missed a practice today. Those are key contributors on our offense and defense, both. So I don't know. I hope those are kind of maybe vet days. I don't know. Lanier seems to miss a lot of practice, which is unfortunate. But we definitely need him in there. He's been a one-man wrecking crew the last couple of weeks. So we really, really need that push. So I'm hoping he practices tomorrow.
Yeah, we need we need a clean bill of health, as clean as we can get, and you can only hope that these players are out there on the field and doing what they do best, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we need to come out with some energy, keep the penalties down, don't beat ourselves, and play our game and play with confidence and play with that strut and swagger that we had after, around that game 3, game 4, when we were 3-1. Like, that doesn't just go away. You can't just turn that on and off. But I'm sure hoping they come out firing, because, man, we need it,
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you guys for watching, liking, viewing, subscribing, all that fun stuff. You guys can go follow Tyson at Hillbilly PhD on Instagram. Me at Caden Hardy, everywhere you find yourselves on social media, and you guys can follow us at Rider Review Podcast on Instagram. We thank you guys for another week of listening, and we hope to see you guys next week after the game. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say I hope it's a win or a loss. I'm not going to say anything. We're going to see you after the game.
Yeah, let's get out there, support the boys. Let's get this win, people. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it, and God bless you guys.